So we can finally finish up our goal of having the pegs light up when a ball hits it, now that we've used our B2 contact listener to figure out what peg actor has gotten hit by a ball. Now this is actually going to be pretty easy. I'm going to go into my peg actor and I'm going to create a function, a public function called hit by ball. And this is going to be pretty straightforward. We're basically going to first check and see, all right, if we haven't been hit yet, using our been hit Boolean flag, set been hit to true, and then we're going to recall the set my movie frame function, and that's going to set the movie clip to the appropriate frame to show the lit up peg. That's it. And now I'm going to go to my Puggle contact listener and basically call the hit by ball function on the peg actor at the appropriate point in my if statement. So at this point here, we know that shape 1 belongs to a peg actor. So I'm going to say point shape 1, get body, get user data. Now I want to call hit by ball here, but I actually need to make sure I cast this as a peg actor. I'm going to let Flash know, yes, I know for sure that this is a peg actor. And now I can call hit by ball. And now I'm basically going to do the same thing in the second if statement, except that I'm going to be calling it on shape 2 instead of shape 1. So I'm going to say peg actor, point, shape 2, get body, get user data, hit by ball. Again, you know, not the most straightforward code, and I apologize for that. I should probably pull this out into a separate function. But I'm lazy, so let's just run this and watch it work. Well, would you look at that? We got our pegs lighting up. That's pretty exciting, if I do say so myself. This seems pretty cool. We've used our contact listener to detect when two objects have collided. We have been able to figure out what actor class those objects belong to, and we've been able to call a function on those actor classes to make it respond appropriately to a collision. So that's all pretty cool. Now, before you get too excited about using the B2 contact listener, let me point out a little weirdness, or a few things you got to watch out for with the B2 contact listener. I think the most important rule is you cannot alter your physics world from any function inside the contact listener. Remember, this contact listener is basically going off in the middle of B2 world's step function. It is moving around all of these objects at the same time, trying to resolve all the collisions within your world. And if you start adding or removing or changing objects, weird things will happen. Now, I know the documentation explicitly says you can't add or remove objects at this point. I've also encountered strange situations if I try to change the velocity of an object or change the density of an object from within the contact listener. Now, this might seem kind of easy, right? You know, it's like, well, I'm just going to make sure I don't call any destroy body functions within my contact listener. However, you've got to watch out for functions that might be, 4 or 5 calls deep. In other words, in my little asteroids game, if my add function calls a spaceship take damage function when a spaceship gets hit by an asteroid, which then calls spaceship explode, which then calls B2 body destroy, I do have a problem. So personally, I like to often set a flag and deal with the effects later. If I know my spaceship has to take damage, I will turn some take damage Boolean flag to true and then deal with it at a point I know is safe, a point I know is not being called from within the contact listener. For example, the child-specific updating function might be a good time to do it. I know that I'm calling that after I have called my step function within the world. Some other things you kind of need to watch out for. The same contact may get called twice. This doesn't happen too often, but it does happen. I'm not quite sure exactly what situations make the contact called twice. I think maybe it's with fast-moving objects, but I'm not sure. All I'm saying is, your add function may actually trigger twice in the same step. This isn't a big deal. Just make sure you plan for it. In our peg actor, you'll notice that I checked to see if lit up had already been set to true before setting it to true and lighting up the peg. Obviously, if I were going to give you 5 points for lighting up the peg, that would also be a way of ensuring I don't accidentally give you 10 points if, for some reason, that peg got hit twice in the same step. Again, maybe a good reason to turn your spaceship take damage flag to true and then deal with actually taking damage later. That way you know it doesn't accidentally take damage twice. So just watch out for these moments. So again, I think this is a pretty cool milestone that we've reached in our little Peggle game. Maybe it's time to start looking at the next step, which is now that these pegs are lit up, let's remove them from the game world once our ball moves off screen. We will take a look at the process of removing actors, removing bodies, and some of the dangers that entails coming up next.